When I started to explore that one aircraft that...
Okay. I guess we
When I started to explore that...
We gotta watch this video. Because why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we watch this video? Hopefully this is going to be fun.
One aircraft that I was like, this is shockingly affordable.
Ladies and gentlemen.
What?
One aircraft that I was like, this is shockingly affordable.
Assault Falcon 900B costs 5.63 million. To be fair, you're buying an airplane. That's quite affordable.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have breaking news for you. This might be the first time this has ever happened. A popular influencer who once said that they were against something that they likely thought they would never have the opportunity to experience, something that it's the popular opinion to be against, has now completely changed their mind once they realize that they do in fact have the funds to experience that thing. Have we ever seen this?
Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, finally, some good YouTuber drama. I feel like it's been a while since anything juicy yet still fun to talk about has come across my desk. Seems like most of the things we've talked about involving YouTubers recently has not really so much so been drama, but instead just horrible or depressing shit.
Why is it all gold? Gold, white, and black? That looks horrible. This looks not great. And look how small this plane is. There's the cockpit, and they're already here. And it's not very wide.
So, nice change of pace. Recently, Linus Tech Tips, one of the biggest tech YouTubers on the planet, has recently found himself in a bit of hot water because he bought a private jet. And a lot of his audience is not super happy. Now, if you've been keeping up with Linus and how the internet has sort of been viewing him recently, you might already understand why that might be. But if you don't, there's some extra context that you should know. I'll try and fill you in real quick. This video is mainly going to be focusing on Linus's video where he actually reveals the jet because, oh my god, it's just so uniquely bad, even if you don't know any of this shit, but you should still know it. So basically, there seems to be two main things that are fanning this flame, beyond...
Here we go. I hope this is good. And yes, we are just watching it for the drama. Just drama farming. Because why not?
The fact that most people can't really find you all that relatable anymore after you buy a private jet, and also a lot of people just have personal issues with private jet use. And those two things are, one, Linus is on the record himself saying that he doesn't really agree with private jet usage. Like, for example, he said this about Taylor Swift.
Taylor gets a lot of shit for her private jet use.
Or jet travel, okay, yeah.
Yeah. And I think that there is... personally, I don't fly private. I don't even fly first class. So, I kind of look at private air travel and I'm like, yeah, it doesn't seem great. The sheer amount of fuel consumption. So I have my own thoughts on private travel. I don't feel it's necessary for me in any kind of security way. And I'm not super keen on it. I don't think it's great for the world.
And two, there's a bit of controversy.
I agree with the statements. Private jets are completely bullshit. I disagree with the first class. I would love to only fly first class. And by the way, I never flew in my entire life. Ever. The closest I came to an airplane was when I brought people to an airport. And it wasn't even me bringing them. I was a kid. I was put into the car. Yeah, we bring these people to the airport now. Because I couldn't be left alone for, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours.
Surrounding how his employees are paid, with the most famous example coming from a longtime former employee of Linus Tech Tips named Jake Tivy, who publicly left the company and then made a video explaining his decision, with one of the main reasons being his compensation, with him saying, and I quote, "You kind of start thinking while you're working on your boss's third house, if you're ever going to be able to buy a house." So those are the two main things, and I'm sure you can probably understand why those two particular issues might make the fact that you just bought a private jet look a little bit worse than it might otherwise. But Again, like I mentioned earlier, just the video alone where they reveal this private jet, the way it's framed, the way it's handled, is just kind of bad. There are some real questionable moments, and I can see why it's kind of splitting up his audience. So we're going to take a look at this video, kind of form our own opinions, and go from there. Let's begin. Please subscribe.
So the April Fool's wasn't a joke? We actually bought a jet?
What started as a meme on WAN show when I discovered that a jet-propelled aircraft is not as expensive as I initially thought. I'm serious.
Okay.
Even Luke was shocked. So I started exploring various options, and my uncle's in
this airplane is small. It is small. It's not huge.
aviation and has been for many years on the pilot side, mechanical side, and operations side.
Okay.
So when I started to explore that one aircraft that I was like, this is shockingly affordable.
Okay, so right off the bat, and really this is my main gripe with the video, I feel like Linus is being extremely disingenuous throughout this entire thing. Calling any form of private jet travel affordable is fucking laughable. No, look, I'm not gonna play stupid.
Well, it is affordable if you have the money for it. I mean, it's just like bread being affordable. Yeah, it's affordable for you. Doesn't mean everyone has the money for it. Especially if you're homeless, you know. Eating a steak is affordable if you have the money for it. I don't know. Having a house in a garden is affordable if you have the money for it. It always is a question of what you are talking about, you know, what are the, you know, it's, things sometimes are complicated. But yes, flying in a private jet is a rich people thing.
Understand what he's probably trying to say here, which is, hey, it's not a $70 million Gulfstream, but saying it's shockingly affordable might be one of the most out of touch things I've ever heard a YouTuber say.
So because of the non-disclosure agreement that we signed in order to purchase it,
Okay.
like this whole world is very closed door.
Yeah.
I can't actually tell you how much I paid. But what I can tell you is that if you Google it, it's less than that. And the second thing that I can tell you is that with a little bit of girl math, $0. I would have been crazy not to buy it.
All right, so this is where we really get into the kind of bullshit I'm talking about.
So this is a business expense. I guess that's what it is. I guess. That's my guess, yes. Business expense. They will get a tax return for the jet.
Again, trying to say that you are spending $0, that you're losing money if you don't buy a private jet is unfucking believable. Also, the whole if you Google it, it's less than that thing sounds kind of silly to me. Oh, it's not the exact number you threw up on screen? Oh my goodness, it's almost like that's how buying any vehicle is. They're all kind of priced differently. No, but like seriously, once he starts to explain what he means by it cost $0, it just gets real eye-rolly for me. Like, I don't think I've mentioned this yet, but the title of the video where they reveal the plane is "The Gamer Jet is Real and it cost $0. Like, whatever, dude.
The engines were all on a service program from the previous owner that entitles you to completely refurbish them to effectively 0 hours brand new once they reach end of life. All 3 of those were done right before we purchased it. It's effectively brand new from an engine standpoint. Each of those refurbishments is worth anywhere from $1.1 to $1.2 million.
Each? And there's 3 of them?
The jet was also in for a 12-year service. And because my uncle's a shrewd negotiator, he put together a purchase contract for us where it was guaranteed that once it came out of that 12-year service, it was at Dassault specification. That 12-year service effectively cost as much or more than the rest of our purchase price.
Wow.
So what you're saying is you got the plane for free?
So when I'm done with it, with the condition that it's in, with some of the special features that it has, for example, it is one of the few 900Bs on Earth that has a medevac kit.
When it's time to divest of this thing, I should be able to get back what I paid and maybe even the bulk of what I spent operating it.
Okay, so to me, this seems like an extremely optimistic claim, especially if you're familiar with what it costs to operate, maintain, insure, and store a private jet. Now, obviously, I'm not like an expert in shit like this, but basic intuition and also...
You can't just have that thing stay in your front yard. That's not how this works. You have to have at least a place on an airport that you rent where that is, or even a hangar, which yes is a place on an airport. I'm very aware. I'm just saying, is it in a building, a hangar, or outside? Very different things.
Like from the research I could gather, this just seems like normal aircraft purchase procedure. From what I can tell, it is just normal to service your airplane in this kind of manner before you sell it, because if you don't, just like if you were selling a car that needed a major maintenance, you have to price that into the sales price. So I mean, he's the one who just bought the private jet, he probably knows a lot more about this than I do, but he could easily spend $1 million a year operating this jet. I don't really understand like where the idea is coming from that he's going to be able to make all of his money back. I don't think it'd be a stretch to say that he could make back what he bought the plane for, but to recoup a bulk of his operating costs, I don't see how that could be possible. Also, and maybe I'm just projecting here a bit, but I've made some purchases that I probably shouldn't have made in hindsight, and if I'm being honest with myself, this is how I always talked about them right after I made them, trying to convince myself and the people around me that it was the best purchase I could have ever made in my life. Do I know that's what Linus is doing? No, but to me, it sounds like something I've done before.
And I know that you were very opposed to the jet in the lead up to this.
I was very vocal against it.
But the way that the math works, it's a little bit of cash flow tied up, but we're not actually spending any money, which is so cool.
Okay, so I mean, like, again, I would really, really, really like to see this so-called math to where you are owning a fucking private jet and taking your family to Cabo in it, but you're somehow not spending any money. Like,
Tax. They do something taxes. It's always coming down to that. It's always the taxes. And I don't mean taxes. Taxes, you know, the state. I mean taxes. Man, the Canadian government surely loves rich people and doesn't give a fuck about, you know, everyone else.
seriously, unless there's just something he's not telling us, which he did say there was an NDA, this just doesn't make any sense. Private jet travel is the most expensive form of travel on the planet. Beyond like using a fucking super yacht, I guess, but nobody uses those to actually travel like that. It just doesn't seem like this could be possible.
I assumed that jet fuel would be inordinately expensive. It turns out that it's actually really similar to kerosene.
Okay.
And doesn't really cost that much more than regular fuel.
How much does it store, though?
It's just the sheer volume of it that you go through.
Okay.
With that said, I'm starting a family vlog. That'll be coming soon. And the first episode is going to be a trip to Cabo, where I treated mine and Yvonne's families. When we factor in that the fuel coming back from Mexico was half as much.
Have you seen his son? His son is ripped. Jesus. Good for him.
As we paid to go down,
Good looking dude.
it actually cost less than buying like a first class ticket for everyone.
Okay, gonna go ahead and retract my statement earlier that him saying that private jet travel is shockingly affordable is the most tone-deaf thing I've ever heard a YouTuber say. This now holds the crown. Like, I'm sorry, but what was the expected reaction here? Oh, Linus, you should have led with this. The fuel that it costs to take 2 entire families on your private jet to a different country costs less than it would to just put them in first class? Well, now that you put it that way, why don't we all just get one? Like,
Well, to be fair, everyone would rather fly first class than not if they had the money. Everyone. I don't want to sit back there with screaming babies and stuff like that. Or Karens. Oh, Jesus, no Karens, please.
Holy shit, dude. First of all, this means literally nothing because fuel does not even account for like half of your operating cost to get a plane somewhere. It's usually like 30 to 40%. And two, first class tickets are expensive as fuck. I put in some random dates, and for 8 first class tickets, which I feel like is a safe, if not low assumption to how many people would go, when you say you took 2 different families, from Vancouver to Cabo is 20 grand. I found a fuel calculator online, and while it's probably not perfect, it estimates that it would cost you about $14,000 to $16,000 in fuel to get from Vancouver to Cabo and back. Which, I mean, like, I guess if you just had to get to Cabo and your only other option was first class and you only had to pay for fuel, yeah, I guess if you ignore the fact that you had to buy a $5 million airplane for that to even be an option, sure, you're saving money, but that's not the actual story. Like I said, fuel only accounts for about 40% of your operating cost when flying an airplane, which if you're paying 15 grand in fuel, and that's 40% of your total cost, that means that his actual cost to get his plane to Vancouver, to Cabo, and back was really probably about $35,000 to $40,000. And that's just to get there. So I mean, like, it feels very disingenuous.
Just so you know, we just go with $35,000. I could live off that for almost 3 years. Almost 3 years. About 2.5 years, maybe a couple months more. And I wouldn't be starving at all. For me, that would be luxurious living.
To be like, oh, well, I mean, fuel is technically cheaper than the most expensive plane ticket you could buy, so we're saving money. No, you're not. You've got to pay the pilots. You've got to pay insurance. You've got to pay the countries that you're flying into, over, and out of to be in their airspace. You've got to account for the engine hours you're adding to the plane. He was real happy about the fact that somebody else paid that $1 million per engine for the overhaul. If one single engine overhaul cost $1 million, imagine how expensive the cost is to operate that engine per flight hour. Spoiler alert, it's a lot. Like, look, personally, I don't really agree with it, but I can't make myself lose sleep over every single super rich guy who buys a private jet. If I did, I don't think I'd ever sleep again. So I mean, like, if this guy really wants to buy a private jet, I'm not going to be picketing outside of his office. But what I do think is pretty shitty is buying a private jet because you want one. Obviously, nobody gets in the fucking market for a private plane unless you...
Oh, wait. I just saw the writing. Ausgang zum Öffnung drücken. That's German. The translation is literally below that. Exit, push to open. Is that from a German manufacturer? It would be funny.
Just really want one, and then going onto your YouTube channel being like, oh, well, it actually didn't cost me $1. It's super cheap, it's super affordable. Like, just to be honest, like, come on, you're buying fucking private planes, you've kind of lost, like, oh, I'm just one of you guys look. Just be honest, it's more respectable, it makes you look better. Trying to frame this in a way where you're like, look, if you only consider one expense, this is basically cheaper than taking my family on a nice vacation, is pretty questionable.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel it's a good time to talk about this.
Whoa.
Another major maintenance cost center on aircraft is the landing gear. So rough landings, total landings, and time all contribute to how often this stuff needs to be overhauled and checked. Well, guess what? As part of my girl math $0 plane, all 3 were completely redone months ago as part of a 12-year check. I'm talking the whole plane goes up on struts or on donor landing gear. They completely take apart the whole thing, new seals, new everything, new anti-skid, make sure everything's working perfectly, and they throw it back on. So, once again, when we go to divest of this asset, business term for flip this, someone is basically buying a turnkey, ready to go 900.
So again, like, Linus, you are the one who got the turnkey plane. You are the one who bought the plane with all the service that had just been done to it. Are the services that you'll have to do when you sell this plane going to be as major as the ones that the previous owner had to do before you bought it? No, but again, it just kind of feels like he's being disingenuous when he's explaining how much this plane is going to cost him and how much he's going to be able to make back once he sells it. Dude is literally explaining how, like, every part of this plane had to be rebuilt before he bought it, and is seemingly like, yeah, but that's not not going to happen to me. And I mean, yeah, it's not going to, because he's not going to put thousands of flight hours onto this plane before he sells it, but he will be flying it. So he will absolutely have to do major maintenance between now and the time he sells it, and likely some stuff to actually get it sold. I mean, like, come on, dude, do you really think that somebody did millions of dollars worth of maintenance out of the goodness of their own heart? No, it's because nobody would have bought it if they didn't. I don't know, it just seems to me like he's overstating like how much money he's made off the fact that the plane...
The thing is, the previous owner wanted to get rid of that thing because having it costs more money than repairing it. So the repairs were made so he could sell it. So he would save money from just having it. Because it's standing somewhere, which has to be paid, and insurance, which has to be paid. You get what I mean? So even if he sells that thing on a loss, he's saving a bunch of money. So the previous owner just wanted to get rid of it and get as much money out of it as he could while doing it. That's what's going on here. Nothing more, nothing less.
Plane had a massive service before he bought it. I mean, it's just like anything mechanical. Every time you use the plane, you are just working towards that having to happen again. I don't know, maybe I'm just misunderstanding him, but to me, it sort of seems like he's overstating the value that he's received from this plane being serviced right before he bought it, and kind of understating the fact that it would have had to have been done anyways. Like, from the way I'm understanding this, he's kind of treating this service as like something he's going to be able to extract from the purchase price and like make back almost, when from the way I understand this kind of stuff, it's all priced in. Planes have to have this shit done. Regulations are completely different. It's not like a car where you can just ignore getting an oil change for 20,000 miles. You have to do these things for these planes to be illegal to fly. This stuff is priced in, and I feel like he's treating it like it's not for his audience. Anyways, the rest of the video is just them touring the plane pretty much. Not a whole lot more to do with my main gripe, which again is me just thinking that he's sort of being disingenuous with his audience on purpose. And I don't know, I'm interested to see how this plays out in the long term. Like I mentioned earlier, it seems like this has his audience pretty much split. A lot of people feel very strongly about private jet usage, and I mean, for good reason. It's literally like the worst thing you could do as an individual for the environment beyond like owning a super yacht. It's one of those things where if you're like regularly chartering a private jet, and especially if you just outright own one, you've kind of got to admit to yourself that you are prioritizing your lifestyle, your convenience, over the health of the planet, which, you know.
If you believe the propaganda of the globalists, which, by the way, I don't. Which, just so you know, CO2 is a good thing. If you want to know why, have you ever heard of photosynthesis? If not, what have you done in school?
Is not super cool, but you know, at the same time, a lot of people just don't really give a shit. Again, for me personally, my main issue with this video is just the way this video is framed. To seriously try and sell to your audience with a straight face the idea that owning a private jet is not going to cost you anything is truly absurd. Like, genuinely, that's kind of crazy. It doesn't even seem fitting to call that mental gymnastics. It would be an understatement. Again, to me, this just seems like a guy who really wanted a private jet and now does not want to disclose to his audience the insanity that is the reality of the operating expenses. I mean, come on, dude, just be honest. Once you own a private jet with gold-plated sinks, there's really no more hiding the fact that you're swimming in it. I just don't understand why this video was made the way it was. Well, guys, what are your thoughts? Like I've kind of been saying, I don't really believe that Linus believes that this is a $0 private jet. Like, I can't make myself believe that a guy who's been able to build like a business empire truly believes that he's going to be able to own and operate a private jet for no real cost. That is literally impossible. Otherwise, everybody would have a private fucking jet. So I just don't really understand why he feels the need to say this to his audience. It's just kind of weird. Like, it's 2026. Everybody knows that YouTubers of this size have unbelievable amounts of money. Why not just be upfront about it? I don't really get it. Maybe it's just like a rite of passage. Maybe eventually you have to become out of touch with your audience. That's why I savor every moment I have with you guys. Who knows when it'll be gone. See ya.
Man. Yeah, if I had, I don't know, 10 million bucks, I would literally have a small house in the countryside or something like that, or in the mountains. Have a garden, raise some animals, eat, just wanted to say, eat my own eggs. Eat the eggs of my chicken and stuff like that. Eating my own chicken. I don't know if I can, going for hunting. You know, things like that. And still doing streams on YouTube, of course. But I would also have an editor, Jesus Christ. Definitely would have an editor.